So this is actually a very different Warzone 2.0 video than I was originally going to make. I was going to have one come out yesterday, just kind of breaking down everything that was new in Warzone 2.0. However, so much has changed that I felt like I needed to do the video a little bit different. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you everything that is new in Warzone 2, what is changing, the new map, everything like that, right at the beginning of the video. Later on, we're going to dive into some gameplay and kind of break down what exactly is changed with the gameplay, because there is so much. And originally I was just going to kind of give you the things that they changed, but I'm also going to give you my opinions on it. And I want to hear yours as well, because they've essentially changed Warzone as an experience with this game, which is very strange to me. And I want your guys' opinion on it, and I want to get my opinion out there. But first, I'm going to break down everything that's new and changing. Then we're going to dive into the gameplay later on. So without further ado, this is Warzone 2.0. So to start things out, this is Warzone 2.0's new map called Al-Mazar. As far as this map goes, it is the biggest map that they have ever created. And as far as what the locations are, you can see all of them on screen here. Now, what is cool is that a lot of these locations are actually bring back locations from Modern Warfare 2 and other Call of Duty games like Modern Warfare 3 as well. So some of the locations that you're definitely going to recognize as we go through the various POIs here, you're going to recognize Terminal, Dome, Quarry is back from Modern Warfare 2, so there's a lot to see here. Now, what I will say right away, just from looking at this map, it gives off much more Verdansk vibes than we had with the Caldera. It looks like it was developed by Infinity Ward, and in fact, it was. Not only that, I have to say this, but the map looks absolutely beautiful. It appears as though they did a great job with it. A lot of indoor locations, a lot of outdoor locations, but just detail absolutely everywhere. A ton of buildings for you to go into. So whether you're pulling out a sniper and looking across the desert, or you like these indoor locations for your SMGs, it seems like there's going to be a location for absolutely everyone. So essentially, that's what you need to know about the map. It's the gameplay that's changing that we really need to dive into, because there's a lot here that was not there in the original Warzone. And I mean a lot. And swimming is just the beginning of it. As you can see, that little village there was completely flooded. That's just the beginning of it all. So the first big gameplay change that we have is how zones are going to work. Traditionally, the zone just got smaller and smaller and pushed ever forward towards the middle. However, now, halfway through the game, it's going to split into 3 different zones. Those zones will get smaller to the point where they combine, push together for that final zone. I originally thought this was a really good idea to counter campers. However, when I actually saw people play it in game, I have some big concerns about it, which we'll dive into once we get into the gameplay. The next thing they dove into is AI. And as far as AI goes, there's a lot to take away here. First of all, in Warzone, there are these things called strongholds. These are littered with AI, and when you go in and eliminate them, it gives you a reward. The main thing that you are going for reward-wise here is a loadout. Now, apparently, based off of everything I've heard, you can still buy loadouts at buy zones, and if not loadouts, you can just buy your individual weapons in and of themselves. But once you complete a stronghold, it will give you the location of a black site, and at this point, they haven't told us what black sites actually are. So this then continued talking about AI. They brought up the new mode DMZ. So this is the escape from Tarkov mode. You go in, you loot, you exfil, you keep your loot, so on and so forth. Now, we don't know how this is going to play into the gameplay loop, how keeping your loot will actually work. They said they're not revealing it at this time. However, what they did tell us is when Warzone 2.0 is coming out alongside DMZ, both of which are going to be free to play, and that is November 16th, so just a couple of weeks after the launch of Modern Warfare 2. So you'll have time to go in, play multiplayer, level up, that kind of thing, and then hop into Warzone 2.0, DMZ, and get your hands on these. I am super interested in DMZ. Essentially, what they told us is in DMZ, there's going to be way more AI to kill and less players, but the players are still going to be in there. So kind of like what you see with Escape from Tarkov. And a lot of people, a lot of the devs were saying this is the favorite thing that they're playing. I am super excited for this. I'm curious what you guys have to say about this one as well. So the other thing that Pat Kelly, the director at Infinity Ward, was saying is that later, after DMZ actually comes out, so probably in the new year, they're going to be releasing something called raids. And immediately when I heard of that, I thought of Destiny or Destiny 2, where you go in with your fire team, you take down a bunch of AI, you take down a bunch of bosses, and then you come out with loot. I'm guessing that that'll be a part of DMZ, not a part of Warzone. And I'm super excited to see what that is, because raids were one of my favorite things in Destiny. I can't wait to see how that plays into Call of Duty. I'm very, very excited for that. So as far as gameplay changes and things like that they talked about, the main thing they spoke about was water. They said there's going to be rivers going through pretty much the entire map. There's the sunken city, which is basically a flooded city that you can swim or take boats through. There are boats on the map which weren't there before. So that is the main thing. But enough is enough of what they have talked about. Let's actually dive into some Warzone 2.0 actual gameplay. So first things first, this is not my gameplay. It's E. coli Espresso, my friend. He was at the event. I wasn't able to be there. We talked about that yesterday. But as far as the gameplay goes, it's his. His channel will be linked down in the description. Go let him know I said hi, and thanks for letting me use the gameplay. Now, as far as the rest of the things we're going to talk about here, essentially there's 5 main aspects of the gameplay that have changed that I wanted to talk about and just show you some gameplay in the background. The first thing, the biggest thing, the craziest thing is the looting system. The looting system, they have changed up completely to be more battle royale and less Warzone-y. There's aspects of it that I like, and there's aspects of it that I definitely don't. First of all, loot seems to be much more scarce than we saw in the original Warzone, which means it's harder to find money, harder to find weapons. On top of that, there's a new backpack system, as you're seeing on screen here, where you have to put items into your inventory. In my opinion, it slows things down a little bit, and I think it definitely needs to be refined. However, I do think the backpack system is a good idea. I think it just definitely needs to be refined and quicker and things along those lines. Now, as far as the actual looting, going into crates, you actually see what's in the crate. You don't just drop it on the ground and immediately pick it up. I think that is a bit of a mistake because, again, it slows down that gameplay loop. I think once people get used to it, it might be okay, but for now, I think it's a little bit slow and, again, needs to be refined. The next thing is AI, and I've seen many people say this. There's too much AI. They're kind of everywhere on the map. There's no differentiation between the AI and normal players, and it just doesn't really make sense in the current way that they have it. I think the strongholds is a cool idea, a cool way of getting loadouts and things like that, but as far as the AI goes, I just don't see it fitting properly into the game the way it is right now. I don't know if that's intended or not, but I think right now, the way it is a big mistake. Speaking of big mistakes, loadouts. Let's have a quick discussion about that. So right now, the buy stations are very different than we currently saw in Warzone. There's more to buy, and you can't buy loadouts. You can buy individual weapons, and they're expensive. At this point, we don't know how the attachments on these weapons work. We don't know whether your attachments for these weapons are put on before the game starts. Maybe you have to loot them in DMZ. At this point, we don't really know how those attachments actually work. However, what we do know is you can't buy loadouts. Loadouts can only be received through strongholds, which I don't know how I feel about it. It changes up the game drastically, and loadouts are kind of what made Warzone Warzone. It's one of the things I want to hear about down in the comments, and it's something that's very strange. I think if you can buy individual weapons from the buy station and you can put attachments on them and maybe have that set up beforehand, I think that's an okay trade-off, and then perks maybe are looted, and that puts more emphasis on looting. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's interesting nonetheless. I'm curious what your take on it is. Are you up for this change? Do you not like it? Let me know what you think down in the comments. Now, the one thing that I kind of mentioned there is I'm thinking that a lot of what we are seeing in here is going to be very dependent on DMZ. The way that weapons work, the way that you can put attachments on, I think is going to be very much so related to DMZ, but I don't know that for sure because they haven't said anything about DMZ, which I think is a bit of a mistake because I think it might explain some of the gaps in knowledge that we don't know about Warzone 2.0 as of right now. But again, we don't know, so I can't really say that yet. The next thing is the new zone closure, how they have 3 individual sections that it goes down into, and then they all close into one. Originally, I thought this was a fantastic idea to stop campers, but once I actually saw it in practice, what I realized is once those zones actually close, there's a big gap between them, which means you are stuck in that zone if you can't get to other people or there are no other people in your zone. It'll be a very boring time before the zone actually closes. And again, another slowdown in the gameplay, which I don't really like the way that that actually works in practice, and I think they might have to reevaluate the way that those zone closes and maybe make them less of a gap so you can go between them with a gas mask or something like that. I'm unsure as of right now, and maybe you have to play it a little bit more to kind of get a better idea. The Gulag is different. I have no problem with the Gulag map in and of itself. However, the way that it works is a 2v2 battle, you against AI, and you team up with some random other person. I think that kind of defeats the purpose of the Gulag, and you're helping out someone else. I'm open to changes, and I'm open to most of these changes that they've added in, but this is one that I think we'll probably see change by the time the game comes out. But all in all, I think there's a lot of things in this that are adaptive and changing, and I like, but I think they really need to be refined by the time this comes out, and that has me a little bit worried. But again, this is an early build. We'll have to wait to see how it actually all works. I think the biggest positive is the map. I think the map's beautiful. I like the way that they've added water into it. I think a lot of those things are really going to work. Again, I think just things need to be refined and changed just a little bit, and I think we've got a really good game on our hands, but again, we need to see some changes. But like I said before, let me know what you think down in the comments. Curious what you guys have to say. That's all we have for today. I got another video coming later on, so hopefully you enjoyed. Make sure you're subscribed, have notifications on, all of that jazz. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're